Watch him. Watch him. Watch him. Watch him.
He'll just kick the crap out of him with.
Get him. Get him. Oh, get him. Get him. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nice. Nice. Joe. Poor Joe Biden.
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, he's,
Look at that.
We have one arm DTV man.
He got one arm. Okay. What?
Get him. Get him. Get him.
Oh.
Welcome to today's episode of Decentralize TV. I'm Mike Adams, and I'm joined by my co-host, Todd Pittner, and our special guest today is David Morgan. We'll introduce him here in a minute. Welcome, Todd. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. It's been a great Friday. As you know, I started installation of my food forest yesterday, so we have another 10 days to go. But so I'm excited. Yeah.
I can't wait.
Nice chapter. Yeah.
And you're filming that too. You're going to be able to share that with us?
I am. I'm creating a whole documentary on the entire process.
Okay. I love it. Food decentralization is a key pillar of what we believe in and what we advocate here on the show. And now our guest that I'll bring in is David Morgan, who is known as the Silver Guru. His website is themorganreport.com. I've known David for many years, and he is brilliant with his analysis and advocacy of decentralized money through the use of precious metals like silver. So welcome to the show, David. It's great to have you on today.
Well, thank you, Mike. It's great to be with you.
Oh, and I should tell our audience you're joining us by audio only, so thank you for taking the time to do that. But we've got a still picture of you there. But David, it's great to have you with us. I want to start off by saying, you know, the things that you talked about for years are happening. We've seen bank failures this calendar year like never before, at least in America. Well, maybe not like never before, but at least since 2008, let's say. And more bank failures look likely. You sent me a link to an article about the weakness in the yen. And we also see foreign central banks almost desperate to purchase gold and in some cases silver. What's your assessment of what's going on right now in the world, David, with currency and precious metals?
Well, it's doing exactly what I expect at the end of the great inflations, Mike, which means we are seeing strength in the U.S. dollar and strength in gold. And let me go a step further. Right now, my good friend Chen Lin, that's Chinese, lives in the U.S. There's an arbitrage going on in the Chinese market. The Chinese populace is willing to pay basically $100 over the spot price to get physical gold. The Japanese that are very stoic are basically making a run to gold as we speak. So those are the indicators that I look for the end of the inflation scenario, because at the very end, the run to liquidity, the run to safety, the run to something that you can trust, the run to something that has wealth in your hands forever and ever is gold, and also the U.S. dollar until it fails, which it won't yet. So the run to gold has begun in Japan. The run to gold has begun in China. And the run to gold began last year with the central banks making the greatest purchases of gold they had in many, many years. So I'm being vindicated as far as not only what I've talked about in the past, which you thankfully talked about as we opened, but also what's the verification, David, where you vindicated, and I just gave it to you.
So you anticipate, I would assume, that we're going to see an acceleration of this accumulation of gold by central banks and governments. And let me add on to that question. Also, as currency weakness does eventually kick in, and it's happening with the yen, and it's happening with the euro clearly right now as well, then isn't it likely that a lot of central banks are going to need to backstop their currencies with a lot more gold?
That's a tough one, Mike. My answer to that is this. The banks will do everything that they need to stay in power, which means that at some point, if their last resort is gold, they will do it. But until that time happens, they'll do everything possible to avert using gold, which means central bank digital currency. It's tied to oil. It's going to be a combination of commodities. And they won't even go that far if they get away with it. If they can actually do enough propaganda to tell everybody how convenient it is to have a central bank digital currency on their phone, and it's based on the full faith and credit of how many pixels they have in their, their latest NFT, and these idiots buy that, excuse my arrogance, I've earned it, then that will take place. I don't think that's the case, but that's the type of thing they'll try at first. If that fails, then they'll go to something, then they'll go to something. If all those fail, then they will have to go to gold, because not everybody, but enough have lost faith in the system that they need to prove that it's got some back.
Well, faith is certainly collapsing in the system. Todd, you want to chime in? I know, Todd, isn't this the first time you've met David Morgan?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Big fan, David. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. It's a real pleasure. I just have two quick questions and then one serious one. I'd like to talk about silver for industrial use, if you don't mind. I just installed solar last week and had 49 panels installed in my home. And I understand that silver plays a vital role in the production of solar cells that produce electricity. So silver investors everywhere, David, should be thanking me then, right? Because I installed solar. David.
Yes, and I could say yes and no. I have solar at where I'm at now, and I also have solar in my Montana cabin. But
then you can appreciate this next question. When society collapses and my family needs to grab our bug out bag, would I be a bad husband making it my wife's responsibility to grab all the solar panels, David, because for the silver, self-custody? No, I'm going to get serious here, David.
That's a lot of mass to carry around for a little bit of silver. Yeah,
that's right.
Well, please tell us about the use of silver in solar panels and how that might impact the silver markets over the next 5-10 years. David.
Yes, a very excellent question. If you follow the silver market as closely as I do, and some others, but most people don't, and most people are acquainted with the fact that silver is used in solar panels, as you said, Todd. The amount of silver used in solar panels has become less and less until very recently, which means if you go over the last 2 decades, there's been about 25% of the amount of silver used per panel to yield the same kilowatts per panel. That's not true anymore. The engineers have discovered that if they increase the amount of silver per panel, the efficiencies are far higher. And now 80% of the panels produced are using much more silver than previously. So there's that part of it. The other part that I like to explain is that there's many of my well-meaning friends that say, David, you got to read this book. You don't understand that solar costs the same as gasoline, and therefore we should all go solar. Well, they haven't thought it through. Those that are all thinking the same aren't thinking very much. So if you did an analysis, which I did, it doesn't take long. I did it with a video, just using Google, and I did, all of it in front of people. Basically, for the United States residential only, to go all solar would require 1.5 billion ounces of silver. We only mine and recycle 1 billion a year. So you're already 500 million ounces short on an annual basis. If you go commercial as well as residential, you need an additional 2.5 billion ounces, which is another 3 years or so of all silver recycled and mined. So that would only get 4% of the world's population covered with solar. So what are we going to do for our DVDs, our cell phones, our flat screen TVs, our microwaves, all that? You're not. So you can't go all solar. But that hasn't stopped the governments to push it that way. They're pushing real hard that we can all go solar. Well, they're going to get against a wall. And if you project it out linearly in a linear fashion, you will determine that by 2030, in theory, we're out of silver just based on the increased demand for solar. That's not going to happen, but they'll probably get there about 2029 and realize they've made a grave mistake.
So it's good to get into solar now, because when
absolutely,
yeah,
it's going to cost more, and they're going to stop production. Well, I won't say stop, but the production curve will change, because silver will be more expensive, and it will be worthless. Oil is the best thing on a per unit volume. In other words, how much energy you have in a small volume. Nothing beats oil right now. You could argue a nuclear reactor, but really all that does is boil water. I mean, people just, and excuse my, again, arrogance I've earned. I'm getting more frothy with age. But, with an engineering background, I was taught logic. Engineers can't BS each other. It's got to work. And once you make the prototype, you test the hell out of it. And if it doesn't work to what you drew out on a piece of paper way back when, you've got to work on it even more and figure out why the paper doesn't match the actual product. Anyway, I digress. Back to you.
Wow.
Okay, so I want to jump in now on the theme of decentralization. I mean, that's really good stuff on solar panels, Todd, and that's also part of decentralizing and going off grid. Yes. But let's talk about off grid money, which is self-custody money, right? And you mentioned it, Todd. The thing I love about silver is, and gold, and also certain types of crypto, is that you have self-custody, and I don't have to trust a bank. I don't have to trust the FDIC. I don't have to trust some Fidelity fund somewhere not to steal my money and run away, because they tend to do that, especially as things get dicey. So, David, I want to ask you this question. Our audience is aware of so-called junk silver or constitutional silver. They're aware of 1 ounce silver rounds and coins. What does the supply look like right now for those different types of silver, and the price? Like, what's the degree of price suppression that we're seeing right now? And is this a good time for people to actually buy? Historically, is this a deal now, or is it overinflated right now? Like, what's your take?
All right, you asked 3 questions. I think I can remember them all.
Okay.
As far as, it's a good buy. Anytime you can buy silver, present day inflated dollar, anything under $25 US is a good buy. So that's pretty clear cut. If you also do an inflation adjusted price for gold and silver, when I started the website in like 99, 98, I did an article about 2002 or 3 called Engineering the Price of Gold. You find out what the theoretical price of gold is. You take the amount of paper, M0, the base money supply, into the amount of gold, 265 million ounces, and you came out at that time at $2,500 per ounce. If you do that same division problem today, you come out $14,000 an ounce. So it's like 5 times higher. So today at $25 silver today, Mike, believe it or not, is the same as $5 silver 20-something years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's inflation adjusted. I know you get it. I know Todd gets it. I know most of our audience gets it. But if you ask someone on the street that 5 equals 25, they're going to look at you and say, you're using new math. I don't understand. So as far as bag silver, that's been drying up more and more and more. And they'll probably retain a premium on junk or constitutional silver going forward. The reason being is so much has been melted into commercial bars.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The bag market and the bullion market actually were on the commodities exchange in the very, very beginning. When the Hunts were in the silver market, there were 2 silver markets. There was the bullion market and the bag market. And when the exchange couldn't deliver the bars to the Hunts per contract, they paid cash. Hey, I've paid off my contract. I want my bars. The exchange got a hold of them and said, we don't have it, but will you take bags in its place? A bag of silver melted is roughly 715 troy ounces. And Hunt, being a nice guy, said, sure, I will. But he could have said no. You failed on your contract and ended the game right then and there, although if they would have come up with some excuse, who knows what would have happened. I don't know the future. But that just shows you, well, very early on, Mike and Todd, that whole market, the bag market, ended because the commodities exchange really couldn't keep enough bags on hand for very rather small demand, not counting the Hunts. So it went to a bullion market only. So that's that answer. As far as how much is out in the retail right now, the wholesalers are loaded with silver right. And I say loaded, it's such a tough word because, yes, the wholesalers have more silver than they would like to have in inventory at this exact moment in time.
Yes, that's what I'm hearing. Yeah,
yeah. Therefore, the premiums have come down, but that can stop overnight, literally.
Yeah, literally.
You get a big demand in the gold market, which we're seeing in Japan and China, as we already spoke about. If that spills over in the silver market, let's say, and neither China nor Japan are big silver buyers. Japan, they really don't have much. And most jurisdictions, and this needs to be voiced, most reason that you don't see a lot of silver purchases worldwide is almost everybody has a great block against purchases of silver with a VAT, a value-added tax. So you can buy gold without having to pay a penalty of like 17%, right, which most of Europe has. But if you want to buy silver, you've got to pay a premium and a value-added tax. So you're looking at like a 30% move to break even. Well, who wants to do that?
Right.
Wow.
So they basically dissuaded the, let's say, silver bugs or knowledgeable people about money, because silver is the money of all time, not gold, believe it or not. Yeah, they're both in the Bible, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Sorry, Mike. But the point is, they make it very difficult to buy silver in almost all jurisdictions except North America.
Wow.
Hey, David, in doing my research, I was curious on which countries held the largest stockpiles of gold. And here are the top 3 countries as of this year. Number 1, Peru, silver reserves 98,000 metric tons. Number 2, China, 71,000 metric tons. Number 3, Poland, 65,000 metric tons. I was so surprised about Peru. What up with Peru, David? Do you have any insights on that?
Well, the top producer, the Chinese have always told me that they are the top producers. I don't know. It's really hard to prove one way or the other because they're a bit opaque on what the real numbers are. But they are one of the major producers. Mexico's, among us silver bugs, is probably number 1. Peru and Chile come in like 3 and 4. So they do mine a great deal. And Poland is not a surprise to someone that studies silver like me. They have a great, huge mine in Poland, and it's been producing for years and years and years. So that's not a surprise either. But just the idea that they actually hold some is rather amazing because going back a decade or two, all these bankers and mining companies have been propagandized enough by the power brokers that why would you want to hold something as precious metal when you can have a US dollar in your account?
Well, who or what entity is the biggest, let's flip, the biggest buyer of silver, David?
There isn't, well, the industry is the biggest buyer. Who within that industry, I really couldn't tell you. I mean, they don't break out how much Samsung buys, how much 3M manufacturing buys, how much Tesla buys, how much Apple buys. They don't let you know that. That's kind of top secret information, believe it or not.
But is it mostly the U.S.? Would you consider the companies within the U.S. would make up the biggest consumer of silver?
I would say companies that are domiciled on their legal fiction in the U.S., that's true. I just want to be specific because most of the iPhones are made in China. But yes, the ones that are their legal fiction is resident U.S. would be correct.
Okay, cool.
I just want to mention to our audience, if they go to your website, themorganreport.com, also you've got a free email newsletter that's very valuable. I want to encourage people to sign up for that. Again, it's a free e-newsletter, and then you'll receive information about silver analysis, price moves, and things like that. So be sure to check that out, folks. Again, that's at themorganreport.com, and it's well worth checking out. Over 100,000 subscribers. And then, David, for people who want to preserve assets as so many other systems of value are cratering, including the dollar. Inflation is back on the rise. CPI numbers that just came out are once again alarming again. Food and fuel are both increasing quite dramatically. Throughout time, of course, gold and silver have tended to maintain their asset value. And I mean, isn't that just a universal truth? I mean, that's not going to change because the laws of physics aren't going to change. Is that an accurate statement?
I think so. I mean, since we're in the human realm, then there isn't any absolutes. There are some, but in that idea, it could change. I mean, if you convince enough people that some other element was valuable or that you don't need money anymore or whatever, it's a very remote possibility, Mike. For all practical purposes, what I see is a huge run to gold, as we talked about earlier, and that will be run by primarily big money institutions and countries. As I said, China's moving into gold rapidly, so is Japan, and the commercial banks have already done so last year and continue to do so. And they are not going to mess with silver as a monetary metal. They have dismissed it years ago. But some real smart money, maybe a big hedge fund, maybe another Eric Sprott or so, is going to come into the market. Remember, Warren Buffett really poo-poos gold, but no one talks about the 2 times he almost cornered the silver market. So there's a lot to it. I really think that once this next leg takes off, that we're going to see a rapid escalation in the paper price of gold and silver. I think it will go parabolic like it did in 2011. And I think it could get to the point, I don't want to be too bullish, where you might have trouble getting it. In other words, you call up your coin dealer and say, hey, I want silver. Yeah, we'll get it for you, but I have to wait 12 weeks. Are you willing to wait 12 weeks?
Well, we were almost there in March of this year. I mean,
exactly. And that was with a moderate market.
Right. Mm-hmm. I remember talking to coin dealers and I think even to you, David, and it was like, there's no silver to be found. The wait times are now starting to stretch out, beyond what is allowed by the regulators. I think I mean, there was a real panic in supply. And then now it's the opposite situation at the moment where there's too much supply in the hands of wholesalers and dealers, and they are trying to offload some of it because, they're sitting on all these assets that are very expensive to have around. So, premiums have plummeted.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, most people don't know that the bigger houses actually finance this stuff.
Right.
So if you're running at 5%, and you're seeing the silver price static or going down, and you've got inventory that you bought at a higher price, believe me, you're motivated to sell it.
Yes. Yeah, it's feast or famine.
Yeah. Hey, David, can you give us some insight on this fascinating when I was doing the research, the gold-silver ratio first, just to set the table for my question. Underground, I believe the mineable ratio is 16-1. So let's call that God's ratio. And today, I believe the ratio is 83.3, which means 1 ounce of gold can buy 83.3 ounces of silver. In January, the ratio dropped down to 75, and it seems to bounce between 78 and 83. So, David, my question is, what keeps silver from going lower than 75 in that ratio? Is it central bankers manipulating precious metals? What's going on, David? Who's behind the manipulation?
Yeah, okay, there's a couple things to unpack. The first thing is there's 3 silver prices. There's the gold-silver ratio, which is how many ounces of silver does it take to buy an ounce of gold. There's the monetary ratio, which is 16-1. And then there's the natural ratio, is how God put silver to gold in the planet. Mm-hmm. So in that ratio, it's never been above 12-1. Right now, it's 7-1. So it's 7-1. Now, if you take a chart and put it, spread it out and each foot is 100 years. You go back to the 13th century, so the year 1300, and go out at 1301, 2, 3, all those hundreds of years, you would not see silver-gold ratio go above 20 until around 1900. So add up all those hundreds to get from 1300 to 1900, and that graph shows you 20 or less. So it's stuck around either the natural ratio 12-1 and got up to the monetary ratio 16-1, even 20-1 a couple times. So in the last 100 years, it's only been above 20-1. So from 1900 to 2023, we're looking at 123 years. You've seen it above 20 to 1. Why is that? Because the reason you had the gold-silver ratio roughly around the monetary ratio or lower for all those hundreds of years is because gold and silver each had the exact same purpose, and that's money. Silver wasn't a technological metal. It wasn't used for Teslas. It wasn't used for computers. It was money. So silver's highest use value is money. At least that's what history teaches us. So if you go to modern days, where the propaganda has said, well, it's just an industrial metal, and it is. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it's just a monetary metal. It isn't. But it is definitely has monetary properties, and it actually has been money more places longer, more transactions than gold ever had. But regardless, the ratio got to 125 in the Ildes scare.
Wow.
And that was like an all-time high. And I was lucky enough to buy right in there, by the way. But we saw that ratio drop down to where we are now, 85. And anything above 80 is you should seriously consider swapping gold into silver or buying silver, not gold. Now, the best gold-silver ratio we've had in this bull market, which we have had, from the year 2000 to the year 2011, gold was up year over year, 11 years in a row. That's called the bull market, people. I know. I was in it. I was speaking around the world. I was getting patted on the back almost everywhere I went, and it certainly wasn't me. Markets are, brighter than any of us. But during that time frame, silver actually outperformed gold, but it didn't go year over year. Some years on a year over year basis, it was lower than it was. But overall, it outperformed gold during that decade. The next decade or more, we've seen a round trip. We've seen $2,000 gold, September 2011, and then recently we're pushing toward 2000 now. And what's really, I'm going to digress for a second. It's interesting to me that the sentiment is so bad, Mike and Todd. I mean, the sentiment really, really is bad, and yet gold's within 10% of its all-time high on a nominal basis, not on a inflation-adjusted basis, but on a nominal basis. And yet everybody's down in the trough. They're just hanging their heads low. Wish I never saw gold. Wish I didn't own it. Wish I didn't buy so much. And yet it's within striking distance of a new high.
Well, and I would add it's one Russian missile away from spiking to a brand new high. I mean, look at what happened in 2022, right after the Russia attack on Ukraine. Didn't gold go to 2050?
Yeah, exactly.
Like overnight. And there's no reason why. I mean, look, we're looking at a World War III scenario where it's very clear that the U.S. is trying to provoke maybe even a nuclear response from Putin. And if he takes the bait and puts a nuclear warhead on, let's say, a hypersonic missile, even a relatively small warhead, which is still much larger than Hiroshima was, given the size of warheads these days, gold could just overnight go to $3,000 or something like that. Not that I wish for any such circumstance to happen, because nuclear war is deadly for all of us on the planet. But the volatility this could change just overnight. Your comments, David?
Well, you're right. People don't understand markets. They don't understand how small the gold market is. They don't understand how much smaller the silver market is. The silver market makes up 0.02% of the financial system.
Wow.
Now, there's about $5 trillion sitting on the sidelines. In other words, money market funds, cash, anything, checking accounts, anything that could be, moved into an asset class. Could be stock, could be real estate, could be bonds, could be private equity. Could be anything that is in $50 billion is 2 years total silver supply. Remember, I told you we get 1 billion ounces of silver.
Yeah.
It's 25. It's not even that high. That's $25 billion market on an annual basis. 50 billion represents 1%. Now, do you think in a meltdown, a nuclear attack, cyber warfare, an EMP, real or man-made, any scenario you want to dream up, and I'm not trying to play the fear card. I am a realist. But you don't think you're going to see 1% of that scared money moving to the silver market? What do you think will happen?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, we saw it before. And the stability of the world geopolitically is at an all-time low, or at least I would say since World War II right now. That's my assessment. But we are on the verge of some very dangerous things. Let me ask you one question, David, about the supply of silver, because as I understand it, a lot of silver that's mined is actually mined as a side effect of mining other minerals, such as I don't know, copper or nickel or what have you. First, I want to ask you, is that correct? And then what percentage of silver is mined on purpose, where they're trying to mine silver, versus just getting it as a result of mining something else?
Yeah, that's correct, Mike. The amount of silver that comes out of the earth, 25% of it is a result of copper mining. 35% of it is a result of zinc and lead mining. 13% is a result of gold mining. And there is no such thing as a primary silver miner, meaning that's only mined silver. The last only silver mine, the last only silver mine existed in Mexico probably about the time I started my first domain, The Silver Investor, that I rebranded to the Morgan Report years ago.
So nobody mines silver on purpose, just silver.
No,
Fascinating.
Let me reframe it so it's clear. They mine silver on purpose because if you go to their profit and loss statement, the number one asset that to the bottom line is silver. So the majority of their business is silver, but none of them are silver only. They're silver and they've got lead. They're silver, they've got copper. They're silver, they've got lead and zinc and silver and some gold. But if you look at their net income statement or you look at their annual statement, then all of them, every one of them that's a primary silver producer, which means the bottom line is mostly due to silver production. None of it's only silver production.
I see.
All of them have other metals.
Okay, well that makes sense because you're going to just stumble across a lot more lead than silver or zinc.
And the thing, I want to go one step further. You didn't ask the question, but this is what fries me in my industry, is there's silver equivalent and gold equivalent. They do this in the oil industry as well. So what they say is, well, if lead is this price, but it was mined as silver, we're going to convert it to how much silver that would be. It's equivalent to this much silver. Okay. Well, it's like gold-silver ratio. You could say, well, 1 ounce of gold is equal to 85 ounces of silver, so I'm going to count it as 85 ounces of silver. No, it's gold. You can't count it as silver. But that goes on. It's kind of a propaganda piece, in my opinion, to, let's say, be disingenuous about what the actual assets are of a given mine. They say, well, we've got so many ounces of silver, and we've got 1 billion ounces of silver equivalent. So most people that don't know what I just said, silver equivalent, that must be equal to silver. Well, it must be silver. No, it's not even close.
Wow. I mean, it's a different element. I mean, I'm so glad you just said that because I wasn't aware of this going on. But yeah, I can see where a mine is trying to, market to investors and get more money, which is pretty much all that mines do is take more money, right? But and they're going to put out a prospectus that says, 1 billion ounces of silver equivalent. But like you said, that could be lead, that could be zinc, that could be aluminum. Who knows?
Right.
Wow. Hey, David, how is the price of silver manipulated then? Because I just don't believe for a minute that it's speculation and supply and demand, looking over the last couple decades.
When we go off air, hang around or get Mike to give you my email or my private number, you can have it. I'll send you a Silver Manifesto hard copy. I haven't got many left, but I'll send you. In the
that
Silver
would be
Manifesto,
fantastic.
There is a chapter on the silver manipulation. I go into great detail of proving that it's a manipulated market. But to your question, the silver market and the gold market and the oil market and the corn market and the wheat market and all those markets are derivatives markets. That's what sets the price. So what you're actually bidding and betting on is a contract. That's what sets the price. Okay. The only reason they're allowed to stay within a certain bandwidth is because the amount of, let's say, called material, be it corn or be it wheat or be it silver, is enough on the exchange to quell the possibility of a run. In other words, there's so little that actually leaves the exchange versus how much paper there is that they can play the game. And that will end when they cannot produce the physical commodity. Now, they'll never lose and they'll never default because the contract says that you have to settle in paper if the exchange says so. So they'll just say, well, we didn't default. Look at your contract. We paid you in fiat. What's the problem? Can't you read? But the reality is, if they can't deliver wheat, corn, silver, in essence, they have defaulted. So what you're looking at is what is the supply and demand. Well, if you have a piece of paper that has 5,000 ounces silver stamped on it, and you could create that to infinity, you've got an infinite supply of silver, or what the silver market really is. And so if you've got a big supply of anything, the price is low. Because I mean, what's the price of paper clips? If, there was foot-high paper clips on the planet, we'd hate them. We'd have to sweep them out of our way to get to our cars. I'm just giving you a funny analogy, but the point being, the more you have of something, the lower the price. Yeah. And so if you've got an infinite supply of paper silver, you're going to drive the price down. Now, there's more to it than that. There's what's called delta hedging, and these are run by algorithms. So if the price starts going the wrong way for the, let's say, manipulators, then what the delta hedge algorithms do is they start selling more and more and more. Well, because you increase the supply, it's going to drive the price down. So they have these algorithms, and you can set your watch on options exploration almost every options month and find out whatever the near strike price is and almost guarantee yourself that it's going to be under the near strike price. So for example, if the strike price is $23.75 and the price of silver is at 28 4 days out, you can almost guarantee it's going to be $23.75 or lower on options expiration. And the way they do it, again, to repeat, is they're just going to sell and sell and sell and sell and sell and sell and sell until they get the price down. That's what the delta hedging does.
Okay, but
it's
David,
not to sell until they get the price where they want it to be.
There's you mentioned this. There's a point where that no longer works. But what's not clear to me is where is that point reached? Because this little scheme that you've described has been working for decades, and they can always create more paper. And since most people don't take physical delivery, by and large, most people don't. They're just trading the paper. Then they never demand the physical delivery, and the exchanges may never have to deliver physical. So at what point does this scheme end?
Well, we'll end in a physical. It doesn't necessarily have to end on a COMEX, Mike, although it could. But if you look what's happening with the ETFs, everyone's saying, oh, there's no interest in ETFs. In my conspiratorial view, there's a reason for that. If you look at the gold and particularly the silver ETFs, they've been drained of metal. Why is that? Well, it's because it's physical metal that's needed in industry. I mean, we have had a big demand in silver for the increased demand for solar, and we had a big increase for monetary demand not that long ago. That physical silver has to come from somewhere. A lot of it came off the exchange. We went from, I think it was 150 million ounces down to about 30 million ounces from the silver squeeze date, which is what, a year and a half ago or something. So we lost about 120 million ounces of physical silver off the registered category, which is all that the dealers actually have to work with for all practical purposes. They have a little bit eligible, but not that much. It has increased about 40 million ounces of late, but that's a very small amount. So the ETFs are being drained. The COMEX is being drained. Gold is being bought hand over fist by the Chinese and the Japanese. The banks are buying gold. That will spill over into silver at some point. So I don't think we're that far away. And I know it sounds like, oh, come on, David, you've been saying this for years. And the answer is yes, I have, but that doesn't make it invalid.
Right.
That's good logic.
Like Michael Burry was saying in The Big Short movie, it was one of my favorite movies to watch. His character, at least in the movie, said, it's taking a very long time for the banks to properly value these options, these short options, but it doesn't make me wrong.
Right.
It's like, math is math. Eventually it has to add up. but we're living in this artificial economy of all this artificial money. And it really, the central banks and money printing is waging war on reality. That's the way I frame it. Whereas silver and gold, the physical stuff is reality in your hands, especially it's reality. And I would say to people, self-custody is also a key factor here, regardless of what happens to the paper. If you have it in your hands, then, it's not going to just vanish one morning. What are your thoughts, David?
Exactly. I mean, first of all, my main business is education. I mean, I went through the green thing and showed on paper how ridiculous this going all electric is. I mean, I just have to digress. You didn't ask the question, but if you want to go all electric, get rid of all fossil fuels, and you want to drive lithium-powered vehicles, all you need to do, Mike, is mine lithium for 1,600 years at the present rate to get enough lithium to do that. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Mr. Green.
That's great.
I mean, I'm sorry, I just can't contain myself today. But bring me back, rope me in. I got emotional. What was the question again?
Well, I just want to talk about, self-custody and having silver in your hands. I mean, they can manipulate paper, but they can't steal ounces from your closet.
Yeah, exactly. No, I've advocated from the beginning, before you ever subscribe to the paid version of Morgan Report, you must have physical gold and silver, at least physical silver. And there's a reason for that. It is the money of last resort, much more so than gold. You can look up the 10 Rules of Silver Investing by David Morgan. You'll get all 10 rules. The first one talks about that. So that's number one. Number two is being able to work with it. In other words, people always look at the paper price and, all I could do is go back to the coin shop and sell it, and I got to sell it at spot, but I had to pay a premium when I bought it. That's not true. You own real money. Act as if you own real money. You can pay your rent. You can buy a car. You can buy groceries in some instances, not many. You go to a farmer's market. It works really well. I don't think I've bought very little times, Mike and Todd, have I ever gone to a farmer's market and not paid in silver. Okay?
Interesting.
Those people get it. But you have to be an advocate for yourself. You have to be an advocate for helping your fellow man. Do you want this thing from a private bank that wants to own you or does own you? Or do you want to take this, constitutional silver? I got 4 silver quarters. You want $5 for that? This is equivalent of, $4.50. I'm getting a 10% discount. Does it bother you? No, I'll take it. So you just got to think about what you really own instead of, because when you go from metal to fiat, have you really defeated the purpose of it? And in a way, you haven't. I mean, yes, you maybe have more fiat and made a quote unquote profit and, declare it or whatever you're going to do. But in reality, the best way for us to take control of the money is use it as money. Not everybody.
Agree. Yeah, we're all about utility here on this show. I mean, we love this message, David, because I'm the same way. Like, yeah, sure, I own stacks of silver. I'm never turning it back into fiat. Why would I? I want to use it as silver. And frankly, the same thing is true in my mind with privacy crypto, right? So I own some amount of privacy crypto. I'm never selling that into dollars. First of all, I don't want to create a taxable event. But second, I want to just use it as it is. And, crypto is good for remote transactions, whereas silver is awesome for local transactions, like you said, farmer's market. But you're right, David. People need to change their mindset and stop thinking about the world as being defined by dollars. Dollars are in the dumpster, and that dumpster is just about on fire, right? From my point of view.
Oh, it's smoldering and it's starting to get hotter. Absolutely.
Yeah, Todd, your thoughts?
Well, it was so funny. I sent you the video when I was paying for my food forest. I just gave them a whole lot of cash, right?
Green cash,
and it felt so good. And forgive my swearing, you can bleep it. But I said, and I have it on video, that I'm taking my green cash and giving it to you. In return, you're going to give me an abundant food forest, right? That I'm going to be able to eat on for generations. And he's like, absolutely. I couldn't have felt better about that transaction, guys.
Yes. Well said. And the thing about, why do you want to get rid of the cash? Because you see it's losing value every single day. And I mean, you didn't pay them in silver because you'd rather keep the silver.
I would totally want to keep my silver. Yeah. That wasn't even an option.
Yeah, exactly. Now, David, we only have a few minutes left, but let me ask you a question that's just a basic question for people out there. Can you walk through the math quickly about if you have a bag of silver coins, you know, the pre-1965 silver, a bag is typical, how much face value and how many ounces of actual silver are in that bag?
Okay. A bag is $1,000 face value.
Got it.
And it is about 715 ounces of fine silver. The 90% coins we're referring to are silver and copper. They're 90% silver, about 10% copper.
Okay.
And the reason for having the copper is gold wears more than silver does. They're both pretty soft. Gold's softer metal than silver, but silver wears also. So there's copper in it to make it last longer.
So you're saying $1,000 face value, 715 ounces in there. So if I give somebody $1 face value, then that's 0.71 ounces of silver typically?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, that makes it easy then. So people just have to remember 0.71 or 0.715, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a silver dollar is actually more than 4 quarters or 10 dimes or 2 half dollars. A silver dollar is actually 0.77 rounded ounces of silver.
Oh,
so
that's
the reason
interesting.
that, the specie that we're talking about was actually used more for circulation, but the silver standard was actually the silver dollar. And silver dollars, if you buy them by the bag, it's 1,000 face value, but it's got a far higher premium, not only for the silver content, but the rarity. Even culls are very, very worn coins where you can barely make out the face and the date, still sell for a fairly good premium because there's so few left. I mean, there's not many silver dollars around anymore.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Well, and I also want to comment, I love the divisibility of having, silver dimes, for example, because I know that I can pay in the precise amount at a farmer's market, or I can make change if somebody's buying something from me in silver. And this is one of the issues that often comes up as an advantage in cryptocurrency, right? Because you have this divisibility. You can go 0.0000 whatever. Gold, it's much more difficult, obviously, unless you start shaving off pieces and have a little tiny scale, like how many grams is that, which destroys the recognizability of the coin itself, obviously. So I love the fact that you can use silver dimes and quarters and half dollars and so on. And anyway, I just want to throw that comment out there, David.
Yeah, I'd like to point out too that even though I get bashed, and that's fine, I can take it, but silver hasn't done anything and blah 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 blah. Well, you talked about gold maintaining wealth. Well, when I was a teenager, I could buy a gallon of gasoline at the station for 25 cents a gallon. If I took a silver quarter and converted it to fiat, I could still buy a gallon of gas.
There you go. Yep. I mean, it's just holding the value, which is really all we want it to do.
Well, I would like it to make us wealthier. I mean, I'll be honest about that. And I've said that in the public domain. I've said gold will preserve your wealth. Silver could, not would, make you rich. The thing about silver is it's such a volatile metal. It does nothing forever. Then it shoots straight up, and everyone wishes they would have owned it.
Right.
So you got to be smart. And, when that happens again, and it will, the hardest job I'm going to have, Mike and Todd, is to call the top and say, what do you do with the money?
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah,
it's get ready, prepare your mind, buy land with the silver, buy a car lot with the silver. I don't know, buy a business, buy land, buy rental property, buy warehouses. I don't know. What I do know is you really don't want to put it in the fiat, or at least not for very long.
Yeah.
But if it gets overvalued, you're only smart if you sell some of it or use it to buy something of, that's undervalued.
Very good
Maybe
point.
land is undervalued. Maybe real estate's undervalued. Maybe, I don't know. But I'll get there, and I will certainly throw out the ideas for my readers, but we're not there yet.
Okay. All right. Well, outstanding information, David. I mean, clearly you are the expert in this space, and your knowledge is invaluable. I want to remind our audience to subscribe to your email newsletter at themorganreport.com, and just go there, enter your email address, and subscribe. And David, as we're wrapping this up, we're out of time for today, but any final thoughts you want to leave us with?
Well, I know you get this a lot, but you deserve it. And that is the amount of effort, time, and energy that you put into enlightening so many people on so many topics. The fact that you're a believer like me, I'm putting words in your mouth, Mike, but I sign off every Morgan report wishing you health above wealth, wisdom beyond knowledge, because without health, you really don't have money is secondary. And the fact that we're fighting the good fight to the very end. It's one that we're going to finish, and we're going to finish strong. I'm not going to go to the finish line and kind of walk through or just, pause. I'm going to race through that thing because we've earned it. We deserve it. We need to be leaders. Leaders are the ones that, like we both interviewed Dr. Shiva. I'm off base here slightly, but the thing I admire many things about him. But the number one thing that I told him on my interview that was after yours is he hands out flyers himself. He's not telling his lovers, his flatterers, his followers, hey, you hand out the flyers. I'm going to be in the back office. No, he's right there leading the pack. Yeah, that's leaders. And we do that. Yeah, and that's what I admire. Many things I admire about you, Mike. Thank you.
Well, we both of us here, Todd and I mean, we practice what we preach, right? I mean, Todd's building a food forest. I'm a silver stacker, no doubt. In fact, I'm still holding on to metals I bought in 1993, I think. When I first became interested in metal. And, we do practice what we preach, well, whether it's health or wealth or privacy. I'm running a de-Googled phone here, for example. But we absolutely practice what we preach, and you do too, David. And we want to wish you well, and thank you for spending time with us today. It's been really enlightening. Thank you.
Well, you're most welcome.
Thank you, David. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome, Todd.
Yep. All right. Take care, David. We'll talk again soon and keep in touch. Join the official discussion channel for this show on Telegram at t.me/Decentralize TV, where you can ask questions or offer suggestions of who we should interview next. Also be sure to subscribe to the email newsletter on Decentralize.tv, where you'll be alerted about 1 day in advance of each new upcoming episode, before it gets published. On Decentralize.tv, you'll also find links to our video channels and social media channels across all platforms, including Brighteon, Rumble, BitChute, Twitter, Truth Social, and more. Check it all out at Decentralize.tv. All right, welcome back, folks. This is the after-party discussion following the David Morgan interview. So, Todd, I tell you, that guy, David, he is a legend in finance and silver, and he gets it at every level. I mean,
oh my goodness.
Were you impressed with his knowledge base there?
Have you ever drank water from a fire hose, Mike?
not successfully. No.
That's kind of what I felt. He was just throwing so many facts, so much data our way. It was brilliant. I loved it. It's just like the command of history and just current events and what's going on. That he's the expert.
Yeah, he is. And I think for our audience, understanding silver is really, really critical for the times that we're facing. Even if you prefer crypto, for all the advantages that crypto offers, such as portability, and with privacy coins, the ability to completely hide your wallet balance and things like that. But crypto has this role, and silver has a role and properties that crypto can't match. So silver has its own special role. Right. And given that silver seems to be so suppressed in price, how when you buy crypto, you never know, is it going to go up 20% next week or down 20%? There's so much question.
Volatility,
yeah. Whereas with silver, at these prices, at least right now, it's like, wow. I mean, this is the steal of the century. It's probably 80% suppressed by the powers that be. Wow. They try to keep it artificially low. It's a no-brainer.
And why? I mean, I guess I still just can't wrap my mind around that, why they have to suppress it and don't let free markets reign with the silver.
Well, because when gold and silver rise, it makes the dollar look weak. That's what it's all about.
Okay.
And then everybody moves out of the dollar, and you know what this is. It's a Truman Show projection, an artificial reality.
Right.
Where they're trying to tell us inflation is low and the dollar is all good.
Yeah.
And, $33 trillion in debt doesn't matter somehow. Here's a statistic, a fact, that it's about to cost $2 trillion a year for our government to pay the interest on the debt. $2 trillion a year. I mean, it's not there yet, but it's close to that. And you realize
how long did it take the country to even get to $2 trillion in debt, Mike?
Well, it was in the 1980s before it even hit $1 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's really exploded, obviously, under Biden. But it was about $8 trillion.
Excuse me, Biden or DTV?
Yeah,
man?
DTV man. we'll talk about him in a little bit. In fact,
we'll provide context.
We're going to have him attacked today for anybody watching. This is DTV man here, and today we're going to entice my security dog to attack this mannequin, and I have no idea how that's going to go.
Who has more fun than us? I don't know.
I just feel sorry for DTV man's face and what might happen to that.
But if people can actually take a look, DTV man's face, that kind of stare, that looks an awful lot like Joe Biden.
Joe Biden, yeah. Like I said, here he is.
Yeah.
I'm Joe Biden.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm in war with the teleprompter. and then he just falls on his face. Yeah. but getting back to silver. So the thing is, I think we're all going to need some command of silver, because as the dollar collapses, think about it. You're going to the local market, right?
Yeah.
Or you're buying and selling and trading with people. A lot of the trade's going to become local. You're at the farmer's market. The dollar's dead at that point, and you're going to have to ask whoever you're buying from, hey, what do you take? Do you take crypto? Do you take Monero? Do you take silver? Do you take seeds? And every seller is going to have a different answer of what they accept.
Mm-hmm.
So some people they're not set up for crypto. Mm-hmm. Or, maybe there's no bandwidth from the cell towers at that time. Who knows? But everybody knows what silver is.
Yeah.
And given junk silver, you can see, these are quarters or dimes or half dollars, whatever, that were minted by the U.S. Mint. It's recognizable.
What is it? 1964, right?
Yeah, pre-65, I think, is generally what it is. And they're about 90% pure silver.
Okay.
Yeah. So what did he say? 715 ounces of silver for every $1,000 of face value of those coins?
Right.
I think.
Right.
Was that the answer?
Yep.
Okay. I think so. Yeah. If we have the units correct. Anyway, everybody knows what silver is. And I think in a collapse scenario, everybody sooner or later will accept silver. They'll have to.
Mike, you know what? I will tell you, anybody who wants to buy some of my food from my food forest, I'll accept silver.
They can pay in silver. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
Bet.
Trade avocados for silver. Yeah. All day, every day. Yeah, exactly.
Serious. I'm planting my silver trees back there in the backyard.
Yes, you are. Yeah. All right. So then the other thing that David Morgan talks about is the fragility of the fiat currency system. Now, this is a topic that everybody in crypto, I think, is already up to speed on.
Right.
And it's another reason for people to be in crypto is to have self-custody based on an honest ledger system. Now, but we always talk about how we're concerned of the governments declaring war on crypto, which they kind of have already, but they've been waging war on silver for decades. So kind of the war on silver is already baked into the price. You see what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the price is very much suppressed because of it. I mean, I think that's obvious.
Right.
Whereas the government hasn't yet, let's say, outright issued a ban on Bitcoin or Monero or something else. They could still do that.
And what was it? Value add tax that he was discussing for silver, but not gold. So that contributes to the suppression of price too.
Yeah, in European countries, there's a VAT on silver.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that's crazy. I mean, why would you invest in silver if you have to pay an extra? What is that? 20 or 30%?
30%.
Whatever that is. Yeah, that's crazy. Europeans have crazy taxes.
Like California.
Yeah.
Is California in Europe? I'm getting my geography wrong. Maybe I don't.
I do think Nazi Germany is in California, if that counts.
Yes, it is.
At least in the governor's office there.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that's the same. But I think Nuremberg might have to be take place in California again soon.
Note to self: I need to cancel my vacation to downtown San Francisco right after this call.
Or, wear a biohazard suit, given what you're going to have to step over there. But this gets to our point. We're talking about the collapse of society, the collapse of at least a lawful society, and the rise of chaos. And in that scenario, what works? Gold and silver. Now, think about a local grocery store. Mm-hmm. They still want to function, even if the dollar is in real trouble, even if there's hyperinflation, even if the grid is down and they've lost power, they still want to be able to sell things. What are they going to accept? Eventually, they're going to take silver and gold.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't
they have to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because their point of sale systems don't function.
Nope.
I mean, they're going to have to take something. Trade's going to have to happen.
I didn't realize these bags of silver were so hard to get, though.
They are. Yeah, they're kind of becoming scarce. Actually, yeah.
Right.
Are you going to get a bag of silver?
I got a bag of silver.
Oh, do you?
I did a long time ago. Yeah, it was really cool when I got it. Yeah, is it
quarters or dimes? If it's dimes, you can tell all your friends you have a dime bag.
I don't know why. I think mine are nickels.
Yeah, it could be.
It's a big dang bag.
Yeah,
that may or may not be buried in the back of my food forest.
I came here for the avocados and I left with a dime bag. Yeah.
Under my silver tree, Mike.
Money does grow under trees, it turns out. Yes.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Okay. So all right, you may or may not have a bag of silver.
Yes,
okay.
That's correct.
That's good to know. Yeah,
that's correct.
I also may or may not have a bag of silver.
Right. Yes. But I'm sure glad that, I may or may not have a bag of silver. I think it's going to be important to may or may not have a bag of silver.
Yeah.
Well, when what hits the fan.
If it's hidden in your food forest and it's under a tree, then would that mean knowing where it is equivalent to a seed phrase?
Oh, very good.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah, it's kind of like a seed phrase, isn't it? It literally in that case.
And my German Shepherd will be protecting my seed phrases, Mike, in my back food forest.
Yes. Yeah.
See how we're mixing it all together, people? This is called decentralization at its best.
And this is a really important point. Folks, you have to have competency in many different areas, right? So you absolutely need to know how to run a crypto wallet, how to transfer, how to receive, how to protect your seed phrase. You need to understand how privacy works.
Yes.
You also need to know about silver. And gold is, it's great to know about gold too, but you need to know all these areas, privacy, one of our affiliate sponsors, de-Googled phones.
Yeah.
Self-custody, like you said. Exactly.
Self-custody, you need to start thinking about things like getting off the energy grid, taking solar seriously.
Food self-reliance.
Food self-reliance is a huge one.
Yep.
Huge one, Mike. It is something that all of us are going to really wish we would have invested our energy in when everything does collapse. So why not start now? It's not collapsed yet. Good people.
Right. Not quite yet. Although the signs are all there.
The signs are there, but still the opportunities to be able to get into private crypto,
yes.
Gold, silver, precious metals, It's there. But you have to have the mindset to be able to say, that crappy green cash that's in the bank, it's not doing anything for me.
Yeah.
It's and I'll share the story. I've shared it before, but Mike, when I was ready to be able to make the decision on the food forest, it wasn't inexpensive. Okay. But Mike, I had been one of those financial preppers for a long time. And my wife and we had a bunch of green cash in the safety deposit box for years, been just sitting there, Mike.
Yeah, losing value.
And I'm like, when I got the price of the food forest, I was like, man, you know what? I'm not going to pay them out of my checking account. I'm going to go get that crappy green cash out of the bank, because it should be out of the bank anyway. And I'm going to hand it over to them. And I sent you the video on that, Mike. It was like therapeutic to be able to say, this green stuff that's been sitting in there collecting dust, not doing a darn thing for me, but it was just there for a rainy day. I'm glad I financially prepped all those years and put $100 here and $100 there, because when I handed it over, knowing that that is going to turn into an abundant food forest for my family, my neighbors, my community, my progeny, Mike, that was such a good feeling. It was like, this is what it's all about.
That's the thing. I mean, money is an abstraction, and it's supposed to be a store of wealth that you eventually translate into something that's real.
Ding, ding, ding.
Right. Something that actually materially supports the sustainability of human life and health and nourishment and all these things. So what you did is what money is intended to be for. But, we live in a society where people are just collecting money for money's sake, just to have a bigger number.
Right. And that's wrong.
It's crazy. It's like, what are you going to, do you have a plan to do anything useful with that?
Right.
Or are you just going to sit on it
or do you win, Mike? At the end of the day, when one of two things happens, you either get hit by a bus, right? And so now that green cash that you have saved that you did nothing useful with goes to whomever, your progeny, right? And so what, are they going to sit on it too, right? Or you live the rest of your life just kind of hoarding it like a rat snake with eggs, Mike. You told that story. And so, no, put it to good use. We are figuring out how to be able to decentralize our lives with options where you can put it to good use.
And the other thing is generational transfer of wealth. And this is where silver and gold really, really shine.
Right.
Now, a family member of mine recently sold a house. And this was a house that I think had been purchased for something like, I don't know, $350 many years ago, like 20 years ago or something. And then it was sold for around $1 million, something like that. And then there's a quote, a cost basis to calculate how much you owe the IRS and taxes on the gains of the house. And then these gains were going to the children of, because one of the owners had died and the remaining spouse is my family member who's still living. But what's left over is supposed to go to the children. Well, with my family member, I went through the math on this.
Right.
And looked at it. It's incredibly ugly. And it turns out that if instead of buying the house and going through all those years and selling the house and then taking the gain, because they thought, it went up to $1 million. We gained all this money. And now the kids are inheriting this money. If instead they had just bought silver, the gains would have been tremendously more with no taxation, because you can just hand the silver to your children. You see what I mean?
I do see what you mean.
Even houses that go up in price, you don't gain squat, because the dollar is collapsing in value and the IRS is taking a piece of your gain, which isn't really even a gain in purchasing power. You get destroyed by the current system.
Destroyed.
Metals.
But also,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Metals. Well, I was just going to insert, my decentralizeddirectory.com
Yeah, please.
website. If somebody books an hour with me, I can teach you a tax saving strategy that makes that scenario that you just described, it protects you from that. That's all I'm going to say, Mike.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
It's like that sickens me to hear that story, and it's so unnecessary. It's unnecessary for all of us.
Yep. Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that. I did want to plug your site. Decentralizeddirectory.com is where people can find out about that. It's truly I'm not going to call it a loophole because it's not. It's written into the law.
It's lawful.
It's lawful,
IRS,
but it's used by, frankly, like wealthy elite people to protect their assets from all
what
kinds
you
of
just
things.
described.
Yeah, exactly. Basically government confiscation.
Yes.
But it's lawful, and a lot of people are taking advantage of that, and they can learn about that from you.
I call it the best the most powerful tax saving strategy you've never heard of.
Yeah, right. And I had never heard of it either, and I usually hear of a lot of these things. So I hadn't heard of it. Let me also mention our affiliate sponsor, the Above Phone Company. They're at abovephone.com/DTV. Will give us credit if you purchase a de-Googled phone from them. And here's their slogan: replace big tech with your private ecosystem. And it's no joke. And we interviewed Ramiro, the head of this company, brilliant guy. They have an amazing solution. Ditch your Googled phone because Google's spying on you, and ditch your iPhone because iPhones are irradiating you at illegal levels of radiation if you're living in France. Because that's what the French government just said. They banned the sales of the iPhones.
Crazy. Because
it's too much radiation. I mean, not every phone, but I think it's the iPhone 12. So you can get a de-Googled phone that doesn't spy on you through abovephone.com/DTV. And then
I got mine.
Yeah, you do. I've got one. You've got one.
I paid with Monero with it, Mike.
That's what I love. You can buy it with crypto, including
private.
Monero.
So nobody will ever know that I have that phone.
That's exactly the way it should be. Yes. And then let's give a shout out here using DTV Man to redpillprince.com.
Get ready, Rody.
Yeah, we're gonna have an attack here in a minute. DTV Man is wearing a hat and shirt from this company that also accepts crypto. They're just kind of friends of the show. We don't earn anything off of them. They don't pay us, but they're called redpillprince.com, and you can buy this gear and you can pay them with crypto. They also have a lot of other amazing shirts with some really powerful messages as well. So with that said, Todd, you think it's time to have DTV Man victimized by my dog?
Yeah. If Rody does his job right, DTV Man will have a legitimate bonus hole in its face.
Yeah, this is a whole new way to give him a bonus hole. Yeah, the surgeons should take note. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have to reposition a couple of cameras here.
Okay.
But we're gonna just stand by. We're going to keep recording. Give us a minute. I'm going to move him down to the floor. Guys, I want you to reposition 6 and 5 and 1 right here, and I'm going to set up DTV Man. Okay, and so stand by, Todd.
Stick around, people.
Yeah, it's going to be on.
This is why you stick around.
He's going to be on the ground.
Hey, I'll be the play-by-play.
Okay. So keep recording and keep changing the camera views here in case Rody attacks him.
You only get it here, good folks. Look at that beautiful dog. Look at that beautiful dog. Okay. He'll just kick the crap out of him with.
Oh yeah!
Nice, nice. Joe, poor Joe Biden.
Yes.
Oh, look at that.
We have one arm TV man.
He got one arm. Okay, what? Oh, get him. He has like this tractor that the roof is really high, and he feeds Brody on it. He says, "No, my dog has to work for a living. He has to work for his food." So yeah, he literally puts his food on top of it so he can jump on it. Good job, Brody. Atta boy. Oh, Joe Biden.
Brody's so happy. He's like, I finally got to take down that mannequin. he's still going at it.
That was great. That was good TV, Mike.
Yeah. Did you see he got his arm ripped off there too?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is just playtime. That wasn't even an attack command.
That was decentralized appendages.
Totally. Well, I tell you what, we promised the audience we were going to attack DTV Man.
This is why people should stick through the interview and the after party, Mike.
Hey, quiet. He thinks it's playtime now.
So Mike, tell everybody.
All right.
Tell everybody, Mike. You sent me a picture the other day of your dog on top of a tractor or something that you put his food up there, and you're like, my dog has to work for his food. Tell me about that again. What was that? You put his food up? Yeah,
I put his food bowl on top of like a ranch vehicle on the roof, so that he has to jump up there to eat. I make him work for it, and I make him work every day. He stays in super tip-top shape, and he's swimming and he's fetching and he's catching, and I've actually been able to teach him to carry up to 9 rings.
Whoa!
Yeah, he can do 6 in his mouth and 3 around his neck, and so he'll carry 9 rings around, and he'll catch them. He'll catch rings. You can throw them at him like fastballs.
Wow!
And he'll catch them.
So, Mike, one day, and I know it's coming, one day, Brody does the Rubik's Cube faster than I can. I don't know. I think I'm just going to call it a day.
Well, I'm getting faster at this too.
I know.
I'm memorizing a lot more algorithms. This is the T algorithm. There we go. That one solved that one. There's like, I'm working on 41 algorithms right now. I mean, I'm working my way through them. I'm getting faster, but it's just, we like to stay active, right? And learn new things and practice new things and gain new skills and whatever. So honestly, what's funny is anytime I'm waiting on a guest, I'm just here actually solving the cube. And
that's great.
Yeah, it's like.
But don't you think, Mike, that doing that, playing with Rhodey, farming, just doing all of that, I mean, how much has that really bit into your Netflix time? Like, I mean, where are your priorities?
Yeah, right. No, I don't watch any television or Netflix or anything like that.
No.
How could you these days? There's nothing worthwhile in that realm. But this show is worth watching.
Yes, it is.
And so I want to actually remind people, if you've missed any of the other episodes, not that they're going to be as exciting as this one, given the Rhodey attack, you can go to decentralize.tv and you can catch all the episodes. They're all timeless, by the way. We don't talk about current events per se. So
that's right.
Every episode you can learn something really powerful, profound, life-changing in many cases. So go ahead and watch all the episodes. They're free. Why not?
Yeah, I can't wait. I know that Kiyosaki
Yeah, that's coming.
interview is coming out.
Yep. A bunch of good interviews are coming.
And Pastor Todd, man, there's just
Coconado.
so many. It's like,
Yep.
we have had so many amazing guests. So,
And a lot more yet to come.
a lot more yet to come. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Wow.
This has been fun, Todd. I want to thank you, as always, for participating in today's wild experiments here.
Very good. Well, as always, thank you for putting up with me. And I think it's a wrap.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. And thank you all for watching. Of course, this is Mike Adams with Todd Pittner here on Decentralize TV. Be sure to spread the word about these episodes. You can find them on Brighteon.com, the platform that I founded, and also Rumble.com and other platforms as well. And thank you for watching today. We appreciate your support, and just watch all the other episodes. You'll learn something in every single episode. Thank you for watching, and take care.
Cheers.
And if you go to verifiedgoldbacks.com, which is our affiliate site on Goldbacks, you can actually see, not only my video describing all of this, but the actual photographic evidence. We did mass spec testing. I melted down the Goldbacks, and when you do that, you get this. Let me show you a photo. First, you get this foil out of it. There, you see that foil right there?
Yeah.
You get that when you melt it at 800 degrees Celsius, and then after you melt it at 1100 degrees, you get this little pellet. That pellet is 24 karat gold, and I did all the gravimetric testing, with an analytical balance, and then there's the balance. There's the gold that came out of one of them, 1.6001 grams. I have a really high-end balance because of the lab work that I do.
Yeah.
And then this vial is actually, that's gold dissolved in what's called aqua regia, which is nitric acid and hydrochloric acid. And then we tested it for the parts per million of gold and other possible contaminants, and we verified it's over 24 karat gold. And then we did this acid stone test that jewelers use. Anyway, bottom line, folks, is these Goldbacks are pretty amazing. In this photo here, you can see they are fractions of an ounce of gold, very precisely manufactured. You can have 1/1000th of an ounce or 5 1,000ths, 10, 25, 50. The gold is in the bill itself. Wow. And so when you're handing somebody one of these, you're handing them a very precise amount of gold, making gold spendable and highly divisible. And these are available right now. People are loving them. People go crazy over them. I mean, check out, look, this is some of the meltdown gold dust in the first layer of melting, or the first round. Anyway, you can check it all out at the website. I honestly did not believe that these had all the claimed gold until I ran the tests myself.
I am so shocked that you, Mike Adams, would run tests.
Yeah, because I test everything.
You do.
Yeah,
you do. And you know what? I know from experience that you might want to get these sooner than later. Why? Because the price of these changes once a day.
That's true. Yeah.
So as
based
the
on
price
gold, yeah,
had gone up, they were getting more expensive. And
That's
so
right.
you want, and after interviewing Andy Schechtman today, I know that there has been a little bit of a retrace. So before it goes to that next level, I would encourage people to make sure that you visit and acquire.
It's worth checking out. And again, that does pay us an affiliate fee that helps support our platform. But check out this last table here, the recovery of gold out of these bills. Every recovery was over 102%, or I guess the lowest one was 101.96%. You see that here?
That's crazy.
But
that's great.
The recoveries range from 102% to 107%. So in every case, we were getting more gold than what was promised on the bill itself. Amazing. And I asked the founder about that, and he said, yeah, they actually do a 5% overage in terms of applying gold. And there's some variability, in the process, a little bit of variability. So anyway, that's verifiedgoldbacks.com. So thank you folks for, supporting this show and supporting, and understand that the solutions that Todd offers and that I just plugged there, these are decentralized solutions.
Right.
We're not here wanting you to buy like laundry detergent or a music album or tickets to Disneyland, to see drag queens twerking in front of your children. These are decentralized solutions that are consistent with what we're talking about in this show, empowering you, giving you tools that can take you, way beyond and above the normal knowledge base of the American consumer who doesn't know about these things. And that's why they can never get ahead. They don't know about your tax saving strategy, Todd. They don't know about gold or gold backs. They don't know about privacy crypto. That's why they're never winning. I mean, knowledge is the difference, and we impart knowledge here.